Hi, I'm Jenna Greco, and this year, along with a few other classmates from the Peer Leads class, have worked together to create a presentation on the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. The topics covered in this presentation are heavy ones, yet they are very real challenges face to face as young adults. We have two options. We can sit back and do nothing, or we can take charge of the future. While substance abuse, sexual activity, dating violence, and emotional well-being are sometimes difficult to talk about, we must overcome our own discomfort. These results have been presented to all the students in grades 8 through 12 by Monomoy's peer leaders. Feel free to stop any of us and ask questions. Monomoy students in grades 8 through 12 were invited in June 2019 to participate in the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, which covered topics on substance use and abuse, sexual activity and dating violence, depression and suicide, violence and bullying, and support structures teens may have in their lives. Most of the questions asked if you had taken part in a potentially risky behavior in the past month, the past year, or during your lifetime. Survey data is compared in this presentation between this 2019 data, the Monomoy's previous 2014 and 2016 Youth Risk Behavior Survey results, the consistency of participation rates, and the relatively large sample size in conjunction with the data review and cleaning ones, results in reliable information for us to review. The above selection of findings highlights both some of the positive findings within our Youth Risk Behavior Survey as well as some more troubling trends. This provides a window into the range of topics covered over the next 100 slides. It's important to note that while we use the state or national averages as a comparison, our goal is to bring risky behaviors as low as possible and well below state or national averages. Our hope is that by understanding what the risks are, you will acknowledge problems, care enough to protect our youth, and join us in taking action to make our children safer.
And stop. Go.
Hi, I'm Connor DeVoe.
And I'm Sam Jace.
And we'll be doing substance abuse. So Monomoy High School students in grades 9 to 12 have a lower use of alcohol and tobacco than the state average. The use of marijuana and vape products is slightly higher than the state average. The use of most other hard drugs is below or at national or state averages. Understanding the frequency of substance use among teens can be helpful in social norming risky behavior. A child may believe that everyone is smoking pot, for example, yet this isn't the Monomoy norm. In reality, most Monomoy students, around 58%, in grades 9 to 12, have never even tried marijuana.
While it's reassuring that the percentages of Monomoy are largely lower than or close to state averages, looking at the actual numbers of students that these figures represent is important to understand the real impact.
There was an increase in vaping from grades 9 to 12 from the 2016 to the 2019 survey, resulting in one of the more concerning takeaways from this year's survey.
Younger students in grade 8 and 9 saw the largest proportional increase in vaping between 2016 and 2018, while our seniors and to a lesser extent juniors reported large increases in use of vape products since 2016.
Over past administrations of the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, males tend to use tobacco, alcohol, and other substance in greater use numbers than females. When looking at the usage rates for students, females are more likely to have vaped in the past 30 days, while males are more likely to vape on a daily basis.
The perception of others has a huge impact on students' beliefs. If students believe that their peers or family think an activity is wrong, they will be less likely to participate in it. If students have been exposed to information that the use of substances is risky, they will be less likely to use those substances. The percentage of students using tobacco has been in steep decline in recent years, in part because of extensive public service announcements on television and the messaging coming from home that tobacco use is harmful. Students generally think their parents believe vaping is less wrong than using tobacco. Teenagers' perceptions that using tobacco is harmful are sustained as well above the 85% level across grades.
Hi, I'm Maggie Dever,
And I'm Emma Sullivan.
and we're going to present the information on alcohol. Alcohol use in the past 30 days. Of concern, alcohol use in the past 30 days has increased in 9th and 10th graders. Alcohol use in the past 30 days has decreased for 11th and 12th graders. Binge drinking in the past 30 days. On the positive side, binge drinking has decreased for most grade levels since 2016.
Drinking and driving in the past 30 days trend. The past 30 days trends represent good news in that both driving after drinking and riding with a driver who had been drinking continue to decrease from 2014 to 2016 to 2019. Students' beliefs matters. Again, the more that students have the perception that their peers or their parents believe something is wrong, the less likely that they are to participate in it. Whereas teens' perceptions that tobacco use was harmful hovered well above 85%. Their perception that having 5 or more drinks once or twice a week is less than this and falls well below 80% by junior year. Concurrently, the perceptions that parents and peers believe it's wrong to have 1 or 2 drinks daily also tails off by senior year.
All right, hi, I'm Julie, and I'm going to be presenting the results on marijuana use. So marijuana use comparison. Of notable concern is that Monomoy grades 9 through 12 student use of marijuana in one's lifetime and use in the past 30 days are above both the state and national average. First use before the age 13 is right at the state average and below the national average. For marijuana use, there has been an increase in marijuana use in grades 9 through 12 since the 2016 survey, and we're now up to nearing the 2014 levels. First use before the age 13 has continued to decrease. Marijuana use in the past 30 days is generally lower than the 2014 levels, but it has increased significantly over the 2016 numbers. The number of students reporting that they've driven after using marijuana is slightly lower than the state and national averages. 24% of students report that they have ridden with a driver who had been using marijuana. This is much higher than the 15% of students reporting being riders in a car driven by somebody who had been drinking. Students' beliefs matter. The greater degree to which students believe that their peers and parents consider an activity to be wrong, the less likely they will be to participate in it. This reiterates the importance of parent messaging and of positive peer pressure. While 80% or more of students in each grade believe that drinking 5 or more drinks of alcohol once or twice a week was harmful, only 60% of 8th graders perceive smoking marijuana 1 to 2 times a week as harmful. This percentage drops off to 33% by senior year. There's a similar decline in students' perceptions that their parents and peers think smoking marijuana is wrong from grade 8 to senior year. I'm also going to be talking about prescription medication, other drugs, and distribution. Abuse of other drugs and substances in one's lifetime. The good news here is that Monomoy students are reporting lower use of these heavier categories of drugs than the state or national average. While the overall percentages are low, this still represents a less than ideal number of students, and we'd like those numbers to go even lower. Inhalant use is the only category where the Monomoy teens were above the state average. When students' parents were coming of age, the inhalant use everyone was warned about was glue sniffing. Today, some teens are making the risky decision to inhale vapors from volatile chemicals contained in small brown glass vials, often labeled as liquid incense or leather cleaner, and that are available in some area convenience stores. Abuse of other drugs and substances in one's lifetime. For many of the heavier drugs, the use is down since 2014 for grades 9 through 12. These include cocaine, ecstasy, methamphetamines, inhalants, and needle use. However, there is a slight uptick in cocaine use, though still a very low percentage, and inhalant use remained at the same level as 2016. And again, students' beliefs matter. Students receive messages from their peers, parents, and family members about the casual use of prescription drugs not prescribed to them. While over 85% of students believe that tobacco use was harmful, an even greater number of students believe that prescription drug misuse is harmful. These perceptions are likely why we have seen such a pronounced decline in tobacco use and prescription abuse. For vaping, alcohol, and marijuana, where the products are perceived to be less wrong and harmful, use remains at much higher levels and is often increasing. Students in grade 9 through 12 report that the distribution of illegal drugs at Monomoy schools is slightly lower than the state and national averages. Per our memorandum of understanding with our town's police departments, any student distributing drugs on campus will face criminal charges in addition to the school's disciplinary consequences.
Of tremendous concern, more than 60% of our students who drive report texting while driving in the past 30 days. This is significantly higher than the national average, and the risk is alarming. From national studies, we know 21% of drivers involved in fatal accidents were distracted by their cell phones, and 1 out of every 4 car accidents in the United States is caused by texting and driving. Texting and driving is 6 times more likely to cause an accident than driving drunk. The number of students reporting texting while driving has increased dramatically from both the 2014 and 2016 surveys. Twice as many teens are texting while driving in 2019 compared to the previous Youth Risk Behavior Survey in 2016. Surprisingly, teens talking on the phone while driving appears to have increased slightly since 2014, since our teens seem to rarely use their phones for talking. Another factor in the increase of distracted driving is the lack of consequences that students seem to face.
Hi, I'm Caitlin, and today I will be talking about nutrition and body image. More than a third of Monomoy boys and a quarter of girls eat breakfast every day. Girls are less likely to eat breakfast every day and more likely to not eat breakfast at all, with 20% of girls never eating breakfast. In slide 40, we see that 8% of Monomoy's students report sometimes or most of the time going to bed hungry because of lack of food in their homes. Food insecurity is a concern in every school community and an increasing concern here at Monomoy as the number of students and families qualifying for free and reduced lunch increases. The percent of Monomoy high school students currently qualifying for free and reduced lunch is 39% and even higher at our elementary schools. Monomoy's students' perception of their weight. About half of Monomoy students perceive their weight to be about right. Girls are somewhat more likely to perceive themselves as slightly overweight, and boys were somewhat more likely to perceive themselves as slightly underweight. Slide 42. Nearly 20% of Monomoy students fasted for 24 hours or more to lose weight, far above the state average. This is concerning as fasting extensively and taking other extreme measures to lose weight can negatively affect the health of teenagers.
Hi, my name is Sarah Babb and I'm a senior.
Hi, my name is Jenna Greco and I'm also a senior. We'll be presenting sexual behavior and dating violence. The percentage of Monomoy students in grades 9 through 12 reporting having had sexual intercourse in their lifetimes is above both the state and national averages.
The number of Monomoy students who report having sexual intercourse with 4 or more partners is higher than the state average and just above the national average.
For those having sex, condoms are the most common form of birth control. 10.5% either used no method of birth control or were not sure if their partner was using birth control. It's troubling that 1 in 10 students may not be using birth control.
Of those sexually active students, 4% of the students report having been pregnant or have gotten someone pregnant with another, 4% not sure.
Of those sexually active students, approximately 3% of them also report having contracted a sexually transmitted disease. More than a third of sexually active students have reported being tested for STDs, and more than a fifth have been tested for HIV.
Of real concern, the percentage of Monomoy students who report using drugs or alcohol before the last sexual intercourse is higher than both the state and national averages. And this percent has increased from 10% in 2014 to 22% in 2019.
When broken down by gender, girls report a far higher rate of unwanted sexual contact than boys. 15% of girls in grades 9 through 12 have experienced sexual contact against their will in their lifetime, versus only 3% of boys. The rate of unwanted sexual contact seen in Monomoy's 2019 Youth Risk Behavior Survey mirrors larger state and national trends. What isn't clear from the question asked is what type of unwanted sexual contact were the girls receiving and how often. When unpacking the data from our 2019 Youth Risk Behavior Survey, we found that for girls in grades 8 through 12 who have not had sexual intercourse in their lifetime, only 6%, 10 of 162 girls had reported being victims of sexual contact against their will. By comparison, for girls who have had sexual intercourse in their lifetime, the frequency of sexual contact against their will increases fivefold to 29%, 25 of 61 girls. In 2016, the Youth Risk Behavior Survey did not ask about unwanted sexual contact. Rather, it specifically asked if students had been forced in their lifetimes to have sexual intercourse. The rate at which this has been reported on Monomoy's 2016 Youth Risk Behavior Survey mirrored the national high school grades 9 through 12 rate of 7%. When specifically looking at the rate at which this was happening for girls, 8.3% of the Monomoy girls in grades 9 through 12 responded that they had been forced to have intercourse. We can't lose sight of the fact that a significant portion of girls in the 2019 Youth Risk Behavior Survey who have had sexual intercourse and who had sexual contact against their will may have been victims of forced sexual intercourse. A related report was recently released by the Center for Disease Control, noting that 1 in 16 women, 16%, report that their first experience of sexual intercourse was rape. Clearly, this is a societal issue that needs attention locally and nationally.
Of the Monomoy students who date, 7% report being physically hurt by the person they were dating. This is lower than the national average but higher than the state average. In keeping with similar data points, far greater numbers of girls report being victims of dating violence. Of the girls who have dated, 1 in 5 girls report being victims of dating violence.
And stop.
My name is David Malone. I'm a senior, and I will be going over bullying, fighting, and violence. Students reporting carrying weapons in past 30 days comparison. In good news, the numbers of Monomoy students reporting carrying weapons is lower than the state and national averages for all categories. No Monomoy students have been found to be in possession of guns at our schools. Students reporting carrying weapons in past 30 days trends. While nearly 8% of students reported carrying weapons in the past year, only about 1% reported doing so at school. These numbers are decreasing from both 2014 and 2016. Again, no Monomoy students have ever been found to be in possession of a gun at our schools. Bullying and threats to safety comparison. The reported frequency and impact of bullying at Monomoy is in keeping with state averages and lower than the national averages. Fighting comparison. Physical fighting between students is significantly lower than the state and national averages. None.
I'm Caitlin, and I will be talking about depression and suicide. Depression in the Youth Risk Behavior Survey is described in the question feeling sad or hopeless almost every day for 2 weeks or more in a row, to the point that the students stop doing some of their usual activities. More than a third of Monomoy students in grades 9 through 12 report feeling depressed in the past year. Alarmingly, this is higher than both the state and national average. In response to such feelings of sadness and hopelessness, 12% of Monomoy students report considering suicide in the past year, which equals the state average. Equally of concern, about 4.5% of Monomoy students report attempting suicide in the past year, which, while lower than the state and national averages, is still far too high. Depression, self-harm, and suicidal behavior trends. In most categories, Monomoy students showed improvements over the 2014 and 2016 Youth Risk Behavior results. However, in the 2019 results show a dramatic increase in the reported incidence of depression, which is extremely concerning. Clearly, there is the need for additional supports for our youth and to understand what is causing these increased feelings of sadness and hopelessness. Depression, self-harm, and suicidal behavior by gender. In every category surveyed, our female students report higher levels of depression, self-harm, and suicidal ideation. This is a pattern that cannot be ignored. Past year depression and suicide attempt. When the survey percentages are shared as actual numbers, the true impact of this challenge is clear. Hundreds of Monomoy students are reporting feelings of depression, saying that they felt sad or hopeless every day for 2 weeks or more in the past year. Nearly 50 of our students contemplated suicide, and 18 reported that they had attempted suicide. Thankfully, none of these attempts were successful. While we have greatly reduced this suicide ideation over the past 4 years, we have room for improvement. To make effective headway here, it is crucial that we address the root causes of depression, which has been escalating since the 2016 Youth Risk Behavior Survey. The percent of students feeling that teachers really care about them and give encouragement and support. The adult connection is an important factor in students' well-being and their success at school. While a majority of students, 62%, report feeling that their teachers really care for them, we would like that percentage to be much higher. Our goal at Monomoy is to achieve 100% of students feeling cared for and having adults in their lives who they can talk to about important things. The emphasis on themes like You Are Important and Home Away from Home, as well as the utilization of Seminar Block at the middle school and Jossam Hour at the high school, are some of Monomoy's efforts to better connect students with teachers, in hopes that all children will have an adult in their lives with whom they can talk to about important things. While these initiatives help improve student and adult connectedness, the Youth Risk Behavior Survey clearly shows that we have more room for improvement.